you. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? Today we are going to be talking about something that is not just news. It's something that makes a lot of sense. This one, you can almost feel the temperature rising from the bat across the entire Sahel region. So this is a response from Captain Ibrahim Traoré to Hamad Sheikh Gumi of Nigeria based on what Sheikh Gumi said in response to the speech of Captain Ibrahim Traoré about Islamic Sharia in Ouagia. But before we go anywhere, I want you to answer one simple question, family. Honestly, in the comment section, I want you to answer this question. And I want you to put just beside that comment where you are joining us from. When a young captain, like Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a man barely in his 30s, look at a respected underworld Islamic imam or sheikh, scholar in the eye, not face to face, but across the borders of the continent, across borders in West Africa, across camera, across the whole continent, and say, come to Burkina Faso and tell me that I'm a small boy. This is the message that Captain Ibrahim Traoré is sending to Sheikh Gumi of Nigeria. Come to Burkina Faso and tell me that I'm a small boy. Come and force me to implement Sharia law. Ladies and gentlemen, when us in this continent of Africa, when have we ever heard something like that? What do you think about that message? Captain Ibrahim Traoré is sending a dare to Sheikh Gumi to come to Burkina Faso, right? If Sheikh Gumi said he's too young and naive to understand the complicity of the society that he rules under the gun, I believe if Sheikh Gumi think he's the smartest on the continent, is the man who can really teach anyone. I mean, if you think you wear so much influence, come to Burkina Faso and tell Captain Ibrahim Traoré, teach him how to, the dividends of Sharia law and why Sharia law should be implemented. So Captain Ibrahim Traoré has sent the message, the gauntlet has been dropped. He has sent the message to Sheikh Gumi, pick the bull by its horn and go to Burkina Faso. Now let me say this. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is another question for you. How many years do you think Sheikh Gumi is going to spend behind bars? Because if senior Nigerian airmen can scale through the airspace of Bobo de la Soul, and it took multiple delegation of Nigerian, diplomatic officials to travel to Burkina Faso to beg, still they were behind detention for days, for weeks, without no qualms. They were there. Now tell me how many years Sheikh Gumi will spend behind bars if he dares to step in to Burkina Faso. Now there are two ways to it. He can cross border, he can come through the Sokoto border and try to enter Burkina Faso. If he does that, a Barakta Akinshi drone or a rapid intervention brigade squad will be waiting for him. And he can go by way of knockout. That is landing in Ouagadougou airport or going by way of Bobo de la Soul. You can, anyway, you are going to go out by way of knockout. You can land in Burkina Faso and try to preach as the Sharia liberator of the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is sending a message to Sheikh Gumi loud and clear. Come to Burkina Faso and tell me that I'm a small boy and educate me on why Sharia should be implemented. So with regards to that, this is where we are going to start the show. Let us set the table properly. According to the information, it started with the message of Sheikh Gumi, one of the most prominent Islamic cleric and voices in Nigeria. A man who carries enormous weight in this, Islamic circle. Now, let me tell you something about Sheikh Gumi. Sheikh Gumi is a product. Sheikh Gumi in Nigeria currently is an idea that emerged from a failed security architecture, from a failed democratic system, from a failed governance. Sheikh Gumi, among over 200 million Nigerians, if somebody, a coon head like Sheikh Gumi, if he can emerge among those people, definitely you know that he is emerging because of the flaws and deficiency of the system that is supposed to be in place to make sure that 240 million people can, live their normal life. But when that system fails, men like Sheikh Gumi emerge. Imagine the latest statement coming from Kaduna and Katsina State, where another sheikh, I don't know where this title is coming from, came out and said, the Muslims are more than the Christians in Nigeria. Therefore, the Muslims should go and prove to the infidels that Islam, Muslim ticket is what prevails as far as Nigerian geopolitics is concerned. Now, the argument is over there. The argument is everywhere on the Nigerian mainstream media, but I damn that argument. I damn that argument. I condemn Nigeria to the point where Nigeria no longer have any credibility. So the only thing Nigeria can boast of is Islam, Christianity. This is where men like Tinubu are being produced. You need a fertile land for foolish people to emerge. And ladies and gentlemen, religion is that idiosyncrasy of the highest order that gives birth to men like Sheikh Gumi. So the message of Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Uagia is a challenge to the systems that have produced idiots like Gumi. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré says Sharia would not be allowed in Burkina Faso, that people will be able to go about their business, to go about their religion, free and fair, and nobody will be able to tell another person that your God is beneath my God. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré is saying all religion will be funded equally across board by the state of Burkina Faso. That nobody would not have the opportunity, the effrontery, and the fortitude to impose their own religion over another person. Can we say that about Ghana right now? Absolutely not. I saw a video from Tuntun in a police station in Ghana where a Ghanaian imam slapped a pastor. And I saw the message from Tuntun where he said, I blame you not. You are living the way of Christ. Tuntun. You don't have to be a pastor for men like us to defend you. I tell you what, and you guys made a video in that police station. You made a video of that pastor being slapped by that imam or whatever he is. You don't have to be a cleric. You don't have to be you don't have to occupy any position in the society. If somebody slap you where I am, and I know you don't have the capacity to defend yourself against that person, that is when you are going to know that there are levels to madness. Even recently, when I was sick and I could barely walk, when that type of situation provided itself, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what took over me. I'm telling you, the sickness had to jump out of my body immediately. We had to display. I took over the show to the point. I'm not talking about some local place. I'm talking about this is a public show. I took over the situation completely to the point where the husband of the troublemaker had to look at me like, what type of human being is this? I took the whole matter, I put it on my head. Everybody were now begging me. as if they offended me. I will never ever exist in an environment where somebody oppress another person. I don't preach what I don't live like. You see, whatever I'm saying here, this is how I live. I have seen it all. I have been behind bars. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing to be shy about. And why was I there? I was there because a policeman tried to attack an innocent person. We went knuckles to knuckles. What happened at the end of the day? Nothing happened. So sometimes when I sit down and I look at myself, I ask myself questions. How did I make it this far in life? When I'm talking, I don't know where the energy comes from. I don't know where the inspiration comes from. But I've been like this since I was a kid. If it's go time, it is go time. You guys went to that police station. You carried your camera phones. They slapped that young man right next to you. You videoed it. Now you came to the social media. You came to the internet to tell us that some Islamists are bullying you in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, you are a disappointment. Permit me to tell you, you are a disappointment. Do you think you need 1,000 people to defend one person? No, you don't need 1,000 person. You don't need 1,000 individual to defend a just cause. You need one person, no matter the number of fools you have in that place. The responsibility is on your shoulder to make sure that justice prevails. And I'm not talking about justice with your mouth. I'm talking about bare knuckle justice. Because that is all you have in that moment. And that man was slapped by that imam. You now invited him to your channel. You were now asking him questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate that I don't exist in those type of moments. That imam would have felt, he would have smelt his duty. Because I am sure that cap in his head, something would have removed it immediately. I am not joking. This is why I live. I cause trouble not because of myself. I cause trouble because of other people. People must not be cheated. I hate cheating. I was sick. I could barely walk. And when I got there and I discovered what happened, ladies and gentlemen, after the whole chaos, I started asking myself, I am just recovering from sickness. Where did this monstrosity come from? This is who I am. Right from when I was in school. We don't fight our own battles. We fight other people's battles. So you came, you have how many subscribers? So you brought the issue on social media. Everybody on the Android community will see. The only testimony that people will hear is the testimony that my knuckles have done to that man. You are not coming on the media to tell us, no, we don't want to hear that. The only thing I want to hear is that you've done justice. A man slapped another man in the police station because of religion. The level of stupidity that exists in Ghana currently is alarming. And if care is not taken, it will go upside down. These are the type of opportunities that men like us are waiting for. You will not meet me protesting. I will only protest with my hands and my feet. Then let's see if people will dare to join or not. Let me tell you this. Evil prevails when good men refuse to speak up. And a lot of people talk about, oh, we were not enough. Who told you that people need a lot of people to join the fight? There is this normal thing that I used to hear when I came to Lagos. Everybody be like, oh, in Lagos, if you are being robbed, nobody will answer you. Nobody will come to your rescue. when you are being robbed in broad daylight in Lagos, you know, everybody just go about their business. The first time that such a thing happened, do you know that myth that when you are being robbed in Lagos, everybody looks sideways? It was broken. I don't know if I'm the first person, but it was broken. I was not the one even being robbed, because the guy that tried to rob was not stupid enough to know that this kangaroo beside me, I shouldn't try to rob him. He tried to rob a woman that was sitting beside me. And ladies and gentlemen, the chaos was so devastating to the point where the driver had to stop. And he was not robbing just for robbing's sake. He had a knife with him. And the knife was what he used to threaten that woman to submission. Ladies and gentlemen, that was where he discovered that I was an original village kid. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm from the village. When the whole situation gets chaotic, the streets in us emerge. Only God knows how I made it to this point in my life. If I tell you my story, you will realize that, man, you are not supposed to be here. I remember the last DPO. The DPO who is now the Inspector General of Nigeria. The last time we had contact with each other, he told my dad, he said, this guy is too wide. He was with his pistol. He said, let's take him out. Tunji Disu, this man, that was the last time we had contact with each other. At Okegbede, he told my dad, he said, let's take him out. It's too wide. He is the IGP today, and here I am today. I know if he sees me, he can remember. That was the day that I went to war with Nigerian police. Ladies and gentlemen, Tuntun should do better. That was just an Islamic cleric that was slapping a man. Now, if it is a pastor that was being slapped, I have no business with that. It's a pastor. A pastor should have enough influence to defend himself. And you see that statement that you made, that a pastor was slapped, and I blame you not because you are living the life of Christ. It's a lie. Stop promoting that type of message. The way I was trained, if somebody land 5 knuckles on your jaw, you better land 10 within half a second. You better land. You should die there. Then let us hear at home that something is going on, and you leave it to us. But the fact that you did not respond immediately is a crime. And you said you blame me not. He was slapped from behind. What type of man slaps somebody from behind? And you guys were there. It's so unfortunate. So I sat down when I saw the video and I asked myself a question. How do you lead? Real men don't lead from behind. They lead from the front. And I see the whole speech you gave about the, Islam is about to take over your country, this, and that, Ladies and gentlemen, listen, you have the platform, you are well known, but I tell you this day, I love the fire in your voice, but you can please help us add that fire to your doings. Because it is bad for you to tell people to follow you to a place when you don't have the cojones to be what you say. Be about what you say. Don't just say things. Be about it. That is what makes you a leader. And if you are not like that, I'm not begging you to be like that. That is terrible. I was disappointed when I saw the whole video. And you brought the man to your channel, and the man started making a lot of statement. So, ladies and gentlemen, a Christian is another Ghanaian. A Muslim is another Ghanaian. Part of being a man and part of the things that should be enshrined in your making as a man is the ability and the capability to protect. You must be able to protect as a man. Regardless of the situation, you must be able to protect. Another man should not slap you just like that. And for what? In the name of religion. Does that even make any sense? That you are slapped by another man for what? Religion. The last time I went to buy something in Boku, and a man tried to bully another innocent man because he was on uniform, doing what he can do to survive. And the man said, I can pay your salary. The man heard from me that day. It was about getting physical, but he saw that God did not give him the monopoly of violence. So he had to take it easy and go home, because I'm telling you, heaven wouldn't fall. He would have realized that there are places where your money cannot take you that day. So he just took it easy and he went back home. So, ladies and gentlemen, my message to people today is, wherever you are, learn to stand up for the weak people, because a day will come, if we continue to let the bullies bully the weak might be forced to join in groups. Because what makes people join groups? People join different societies just so that certain things will not happen to them. The people that join the Ogboni fraternity, they join it because they don't want people to trample on their integrity. So they tell them, if you join this brotherhood, we are going to defend you. It's about seeking justice. And before you know it, they join it, and one thing leads to another thing, and they discover that the whole place is messed up. So there is an adage where I'm from. One parent will give birth to a kid. Multiple parents will raise the kid. And that is why we have a good society. That is how to give birth to a good society. We must not stand and see evil happening and stay back and say, because, okay, we don't want to get involved. No, you must get involved. The first neighbor must defend the second neighbor. That is how our parents have survived through generations, and that is how we must continue to survive. It is the easiest form of defense. When a man or woman in distress next to you, call for help. Don't ask questions. Intervene first. Intervene first. Then ask questions after. This is how it should be. Not when two grown men are somewhere, somebody is being oppressed, life being threatened. You stay aside, and when everything happens, you are now going and saying sorry. That sorry is a fake sorry. You go when you are needed, and you step in nicely. These are the most beautiful part of my story, ladies and gentlemen. And I tell you that how I grew up, how I have escaped so many dangerous situations to this point, I don't know. And when I tell my partner about that it means nothing to me. It is because of my experiences in life, the dangerous moments, how I felt in those hours where everything was so dangerous. The chill. There is a saying we have back then. We will say, no matter how bad it gets, I will get home. So what we preach it because we've lived through it. Money is not valuable. You will realize this when you've been at the lowest low of life. The most valuable thing, apart from intellectual property, that you have The most valuable thing is that next person to you, because money can fail you. I've seen people that paid their bills in the hospital and still they lost their lives. And the money they left behind, the next of kin started fighting over the money. So I've seen things in life. The most beautiful thing about life is the joy you can put on the faces of those that are next to you. Of what value would this world be where the people around you are not happy and you are the only one that is happy? You have a bad world. I was talking to my partners recently. I said to them, I said, you people, the life you glorify is not a good life. If you exist in an environment where you are the only rich person, you are the only one that wears the chain, you are the only one that is happy, you are the only one that is living good, on the day of evil, you will have nobody. In fact, there is a possibility that the people that will take your life will come from that very same environment that you oppress. So, ladies and gentlemen, my message to that brother is don't stand with evil. That was not complacency. The fact that you were there and that man was slapped means that the people that did that to him will try to extend that impunity beyond that place. So, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to where this all began, let us set the table properly, because according to the information, it started with the message of Sheikh Gumi, one of the prominent Islamic voices in Nigeria, a man who carries enormous weight in the cycle of the Muslim world as a terrorist, as a terrorist sympathizer, as a bandit negotiator, as a ransom negotiator, as one of the worst human beings in 2026. And Sheikh Gumi looked at Captain Ibrahim Traoré and said in summary that Traoré is too young, too inexperienced, and too naive to be challenging the wisdom of Islamic Sharia law. That this young man does not fully understand the political dynamic of the society he governs. That was the message of Sheikh Gumi. Here is the sharp part, that by refusing to implement the Sharia law, the Captain Ibrahim Traoré has handed the extremists a recruitment message. He said what he has been able to do is to energize and fuel the inferno that is making these misguided, delusional individuals to join the terrorist sects. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not here to fight anybody. But you see, when a man of the stature of Sheikh Gumi speaks, the entire Mujahideen, Astaga Mujahideen, or whatever they call themselves, the entire region where they hold influence, they listen. So the question on everybody's lips was simple. What will be the response of Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Whoever blinks first, whoever back down, holds the initiative. And the response came from Captain Ibrahim Traoré immediately. Because something is very known on the streets. Whoever blinks first gives the initiative to the other person. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré knows. He knew that on no occasion was he going to blink first for Sheikh Gumi. And the response came very quickly. According to information coming out, Captain Ibrahim Traoré did not issue a long diplomatic statement to a nefarious element like Sheikh Gumi. He did not call for a summit. He did not hand a rebuttal or a press secretary or whatever. The young man, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, he said, come to Burkina Faso and tell me that I'm a naive small boy, and come and force me to implement Sharia law. You are going to learn. I promise you, I kid you not. I dare Sheikh Gumi to go to Burkina Faso. The entire Nigerian military would not be able to save him. The emir, the caliph of Sokoto will not be able to save him. he should go to Burkina Faso and tell Captain Ibrahim Traoré what he has just said. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you let that sit for a moment, come to Burkina Faso is a message, is a serious communique. All right? They said Sheikh Gumi, his message can even travel farther if he can come to Ouagadougou and stand before the Burkinabe people, the same people who have survived insurgency, who has gone through the inferno of terrorism, who has survived upheaval, who rebuilt their nation right from the scratch through Faso Mebo with their bare hands. Ladies and gentlemen, and call their leader a small boy. And let's see if Sheikh Gumi will be able to make it out of Burkina Faso alive. I tell you that the Wanyia will bat no eyelid to make sure that Sheikh Gumi does not return in one piece. Now, this is the type of boldness we are seeing from Burkina Faso. It's not the type of boldness everyone will expect. It is quiet. And that is what makes it dangerous. When somebody tell you, come and explain to me, come and tell the people by yourself what you mean. That is a dangerous response. It seems as though the captain is saying, you can call me anything you like from the comfort of Nigeria, from the comfort of Katsina State or Kaduna, wherever you are, good for you. But come and say it to my face on a neutral ground like Burkina Faso before my people in the light of the day. And let's see if the government of Tinubu, aka Jagaban, will be able to save you. Now, the funny aspect of the whole thing is this. A lot of people are asking a serious question. And this is the most hardcore defiance. Well, you know, we have seen a lot of response towards the Islamic world, but this is different. Think about the history, family. Since 1960, when African nations began to stand on their own 2 feet, very few leaders have dared to draw a sharp line in the sand of time. And none of them, this young colonialism, left. But the pressure to new never fully left. It came back in different uniform: political, economic, spiritual neocolonialism. I know a lot of people don't get it. Neocolonialism did not just leave. It continues to return the same way, just in different form, like the chameleon. It returns through politics whenever election is being rigged, whenever people in office, they go through the path of a political coup d'etat by changing the constitution to suit their own, demand or whatsoever. That is neocolonialism returning. And I want the Ghanaian people to understand something. This JD Mahama that you have is already an imperialist. And this JD Mahama will be much worse than the JD Mahama you've ever seen. This JD Mahama that is beginning to doctor the constitution is a neo-colonialist JD Mahama. It's not an ordinary John Dramani Mahama. This is not a Mahama that values the want, the demand of the Ghanaian people. This is a JD Mahama that came to satisfy the people he represents, which is by no means the Ghanaian people. JD Mahama is coming back to represent the interests of John Dramani Mahama in Ghana. And that interest has nothing to do with the Ghanaian people. They come through spiritual form. And when we talk about spiritual form, you are talking about Sheikh Gumi. You are talking about Dr. Kindo. You're talking about UTI. You're talking about all this useless cleric from God knows where. You see people just come out on Sunday and tell you, receive miracle money, receive this, receive that. The person that will help you will not stress you. All those messages that turn men, that turn them to kids, that make men wake up in the morning and not to anticipate how they can work out their salvation, but to sit down there and just be like, oh man, who is going to call my phone? My pastor says somebody is going to call my phone. Who is going to call my phone and put food on my table? This is how the society is being captured. So, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a treacherous world, and we need to be able to understand when the message is coming from a true source than when it's coming from a neo-colonialist. Some of those people, they are just the neo-colonialist mouthpiece, and we must be able to recognize them when they speak. And someone along the way, a lot of leaders learn to whisper when they should have spoken. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is standing tall and is speaking that I have said Sharia would not by any means exist in this country called Burkina Faso. Nobody will call another person a kafiri because of their faith. Nobody will tell another person that you are only acceptable now that you've accepted Islam. It is not going to happen, not now, not ever. But you see, Captain Ibrahim Traoré does not whisper. And it is not arrogance, ladies and gentlemen, that he is talking like this. Captain is a man. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is a man that has been to the field. Remember, before he was a leader, he was a field captain in Burkina Faso. What did he say? He said most of the places, when they go to recapture territories, he said you see Islamic books on the ground. This is a man that firsthand he has seen the damage that this religion has done to the mind of young, naive Africans, because these are the targets of this entire nonsense, this message that does not liberate. I have not seen it liberate anybody. Maybe you have. You can tell me. But I've not seen all this message liberating anybody. Ladies and gentlemen. Now, the problem is that this Islamic, message, this Islamic indoctrination, the problem is most of the people that join this religion, they did not join because they saw the light in it. They joined because maybe their father put them in the religion. Maybe their mother introduced the religion to them. And they just feel like, okay, it's a family thing. Let me just continue what my parents, what they were doing and all of that. It is not because they saw that, okay, this is the right way to follow. No. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what Captain Ibrahim Traoré is talking about. He has been there, he has done that, he has earned the badge, and he knows that all of this is very, very deceitful to the level that is complicit towards evil. Now, it is the confidence of a man who has already done what his critics said was impossible. And this is where I want us to go there, because you cannot understand the defiance of Captain Ibrahim Traoré if you don't understand the deeds. In just about 3 years, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has rewritten what a small landlocked siege nation is supposed to be capable of. Let me walk you through it line by line. You see, Burkina Faso, this is what the West does not understand. The fact that an African nation can charter its own security, an African nation that is landlocked can do business. They said Burkina Faso, okay, they are removing themselves. They said Captain Ibrahim Traoré was removing a whole nation from the hold established. That is a dirty language that I don't want to hear. They said he's removing his country from a hold established order. What do you mean by established order? What do you mean by old international order? At a point, they said he was isolating Burkina Faso from so many organizations. Burkina Faso joined those organizations based on their own voluntary term. They were not forced into this organization. If the organization is becoming unbearable, they can also leave the organization. There is a saying in Yoruba that Òrìṣà bó lè gbè mí, fi mí sílẹ̀ bó ṣe bá mi. If you cannot support me, leave me to remain the way I am. Burkina Faso have chosen not to be among the complicits, not to be among the weak. The weak that the Europeans have said have no history. The weak that cannot rule the world. Burkina Faso have said loud and clear that we have what it takes to rule the world. We are not weak because weakness starts in the mind before it clinically manifests. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on gold, Burkina Faso was a nation that sat on a mountain of gold. And for decades, that gold left the country as a raw rock, shipped across the sea, shipped out of the country to artisanal mining, refined in foreign furnaces, and sold back to the world at the top price, a price that was never a reflection of the Burkinabe reality. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré said, he looked at the export network and he said, no more will Burkina Faso gold leave this country. And what did he do? He built Burkina Faso first gold refinery. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is a geologist for a reason. This is not a man that just went to study geology. He understood the problem of Burkina Faso. He knew that Burkina Faso was rich, but yet they called them the second poorest country in the continent of Africa. Therefore, he went to study geology to understand what was in the subsoil of Burkina Faso. A very first. A country that used to export rubies, stones, they now refine it as a treasure in their country. In 2025, Burkina Faso recorded the highest gold production in history, 94 tons. You know what a ton is? To go to 94 ton in a year, family. 94 ton pulled from the earth and kept by the people of Burkina Faso. Ladies and gentlemen, on cotton, they call cotton the white gold of Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso has so much cotton, a landlocked country that they said it cannot process what it grows. Captain Ibrahim Traoré built a second cotton processing plant. So the farmers who plant the seed now watch this cotton become a fabric in Burkina Faso. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré went to Pabre, when he went to Huagia, he said it. He said, thank God that in Burkina Faso now, we can wield a cotton into a fabric that we can use to make our clothes that we wear. So these clothes that you see every Burkinabe wear, they don't ship it from outside the country. And the West can see this. They know that this man is already building a sanction-proof country. Because when the West tell you that they are going to sanction you, what are they saying? They are telling you that they are going to remove everything that they give to you, from dual use equipment to so many things that makes your life easy. Now they know that break by break, Burkina Faso manufacturing its own food, Burkina Faso producing its own agricultural produce, Burkina Faso being in charge of its own livestock, Burkina Faso being in charge of its own health, Burkina Faso, now Captain Ibrahim Traoré does not want a situation where the monopoly of health, of medicine is being given to certain people. Now he is boosting the traditional skill of our traditional medical experts to also do what they know how to do. Because unfortunately, I realized that a lot of us, we did not grow up with modern clinical medicine. We grew up with our own parental traditional medicine. I can't count the number of times I was baited with our traditional herb for me to get to this point. And that herb is what certain people want to call demonic, barbaric, terrible today. No. And the West knows that Captain Ibrahim Traoré, what he's doing is building resistance against sanction. I know that recently you all must have heard about the United Nations sanction that was, that was disbursed to Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso took the sanction and they dropped it to the ground, like it did not touch anywhere. You see, this is what we are saying. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is building a people that don't have the mindset of complete reliance on foreign importation. Burkina Faso has said that they will produce what they utilize. And this is where we are. Captain Ibrahim Traoré built multiple cotton plants, and construction of more cotton plants has continued as we speak in Bobo de la Soul. So the farmer who plants the seed can now wash it, become a finished product. On food, this is the one that moves me. In 2025, Burkina Faso announced something extraordinary. They call it the Agro-Pastoral Offensive Initiative, a food sufficiency initiative, a nation that was being destabilized, surrounded, and starved. That nation feeds its own people from its own soil. When you feed a man's family, you have won something that no amount of foreign aid can ever buy. That is what sovereignty can give you, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what Burkina Faso has. And on security, this is the hardest of all. The captain of Burkina Faso inherited a nation that was swallowed in insecurity, where armed groups controlled a large amount of the territory. According to the information that we have, they said 60% of Burkina Faso was under one particular type of governance or the other of this jihadist group of the JNIM and different terrorist organization. But now, as of last week, Burkina Faso they now control 75%, not exactly 75 point something percent of their territory. They now, when they tell you that they control it, they are telling you they don't only have they don't only have the boots on the ground. Infrastructural development, relocation of people, reintegration of people back into the society has started. People are going back there. That is what they mean by 75 points, whatever percent they call it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the modern Burkina Faso, where the army has been rebuilt with confidence. Burkina Faso's president, he said, no more will the army of Burkina Faso secure our people with sticks, ladies and gentlemen, against terrorists that use AK-47, AA, PKM rifle, and the rest. They are securing their people with sticks. But now we have seen that the VDP, the Rapid Intervention Brigade, the Buffalo Squad, and different tactical units of different types, the Force Attack Oroya, they now have they have all the wherewithal. And I will tell you, for the first time in a long time, I saw the Russian African Corps monitoring the training of Burkinabe military personnel. The latest Rapid Intervention Brigade that will be churned out of Burkina Faso they were made to go through their training in the very presence of the Russian African Corps. This, I can bear evidence that I witnessed with my eyes. The latest Rapid Intervention Brigade that is going to be coming out in Burkina Faso, they were trained under the watchful eye of the Russian African Corps. And I think this is the first of its type. And he told the people, Captain Ibrahim Traoré told the people of Burkina Faso, he said, I will protect you, not a foreign power, not a former master, not France. We owe France nothing, and we pledge nothing that belongs to us to France. And through all of it, the AES, they are standing shoulder to shoulder. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. They are breaking away from the old order, which you see a lot of foreign journalists. They will say they hold established arrangement. And that is what Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they are living. And come to think of it, ask yourself a simple question. Why is it so hard for you to say, I'm no longer interested in something? That is the question that we should all ask ourselves. Why is it so difficult for us to wake up and realize that, okay, this path is not good, and we say we no longer want to go through this path? Why is it so difficult? Why are the people that oversee the affair of the old order, why are they fighting so hard to make sure that they don't lose countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger? Why is the International Criminal Court a construct by the colonialists that was used to suppress African liberation? Why are they saying that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger should please come back to the negotiation table? Why? Ladies and gentlemen, without Africa, these organizations hold no relevance, and they would not even exist. Because once a certain system has lost its function, why should it exist in the first place? Choosing their own partners and defending their own borders is now a sovereign choice of Burkina Faso. So now, when Sheikh Gumi with all due respect to the man. Call Captain Ibrahim Traoré a small boy. Understand what he is truly challenging. He is not challenging a title. He is not challenging a body of work. A man who has fed his people, harmed his people, and brought their gold back home. That man does not need to raise his voice to be heard. That is why Captain Ibrahim Traoré is telling Sheikh Gumi, come to Burkina Faso and call me a small boy in the face of my people, in the face of the Wanyia, and let's see if you walk free from Burkina Faso. Now, I want to be fair, and this is the Android way. Sheikh Gumi is entitled to his theology. There are millions of Muslims who look at Burkina Faso genuinely and believe the nation is missing a divine obligation. That is their own belief, and I will not mock it. The debate over Sharia in governance is one of the oldest and most serious debates in the Islamic world. It will not be settled by a single there. Now, listen to me. Captain Ibrahim Traoré challenging Sheikh Gumi is saying that Burkina Faso has a constitution. This is a constitutional republic. If Ghana was a constitutional republic, an imam would not slap a pastor in a police station. An imam would not dare to slap a pastor in a law enforcement zone. You are there to enforce the laws that have been enshrined in that constitution. Can that happen in Burkina Faso? Absolutely not. So, ladies and gentlemen, what Traoré is saying, and I think this is the heart of it, is that the conversation cannot be a one-way street. You cannot teach a man how to govern his house from another man's porch. Burkina Faso is a sovereign nation, and it has its own parts. It has its own scholars. It has its own people. And the Captain Ibrahim Traoré message is simple. If you believe so strongly, come and stand before the people and tell them the garbage that you have in your stomach. Don't just stay in Nigeria under the security of Nigeria and just make this statement. Come to Burkina Faso and make us understand. So the second information that Captain Traoré is trying to drive out is, and I want you to tell me in the comment section, do you believe that this is the most hardcore defiance we have seen today against the Islamic world since the African independence? Or this is just another chapter in a long story? A lot of people are asking this, and I want you to hear the honest answer. You know, they're asking if this is a defiance to the Islamic order that is running across Africa as we speak. I think this is a big defiance because Captain Ibrahim Traoré is just not challenging anybody. He's challenging a sheikh from Nigeria. That is a huge message. And let me tell you something why this is a defeat for Sheikh Gumi and those who follow him. This is a defeat because many other countries, many other leaders will look at the defiance of Captain Ibrahim Traoré and say, you know what, I think it is high time we challenge this dirty order. And that is the reason why you have a man from Sudan, a man from Uganda in the name of Yoweri Museveni, aka Muzi, now saying that the Islamists must be very careful with how they move. Don't try to superimpose your faith over other people's faith. And that was why he used Omar al-Bashir as an example. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever Captain Ibrahim Traoré says is not just a message, it's an idea. And to as much as those that have enough courage to re-echo the message, it will do them a lot of good. Now, this is about the generation of young African leaders who have decided that respect is not begged for. It is earned. It is built with gold refineries, with manufacturing capability, with cotton plants, with fruit granaries, with armies that defend their own soil, with their own African core value system that was enshrined into them by contemporary African veterans. That is the new language of power on the continent of Africa. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré is speaking it fluently. Remember what Captain Ibrahim Traoré said? He said, no European, no American will come and help us to defend our territory. He said, we are going to be the one to defend our territory by ourselves. He said, who has given them the brain on how to fight? He said, on this terrain, nobody can beat us on how to fight on this terrain. This is our terrain. This is our topography. This is our environment. We understand the nooks and crannies of this environment, and we know how to confront the terror that dares to oppress our people on this land. And that is a very, very sincere message from Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The man they call a small boy is the same man who has brought 94 tons of gold to the people, who has fed this nation with his own harvest, who has told Bill Gates, I will not tolerate your GMO mosquito, I will not tolerate your GMO crops on this land. We would not depend on anybody before we can feed our people. How many senates, how many House of Representative member can say this? In Nigeria, we heard the House of Representative member and the Senate saying to the Nigerian people, is the GMO, is it not better? Is it not better you eat GMO food rather than when you don't have anything to eat at all? They have turned people into laboratory specimens. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is not just daring the old order, he's showing the rest of Africa the blueprint that you don't just dare the old order, you build a system that defies the old order dependency construct. And that is what Captain Ibrahim Traoré is building. He's building a path that insurgency cannot defy. Because if that is what you call a small boy, then family, we wish that this continent can produce more of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Thank you, and God bless you. La patrie de l'amour. We must develop a strong mind. We must develop a strong will. We must not be scared of anybody. Even if certain people are now coming on the social media and saying that Donald Trump does not ask again, that he simply kills his way to African people's resources. We are not asking a lot of people to fight. If it comes down to it, the people who will stand up and confront certain people will confront them. We are past the era of panic. Whatever comes, comes. And if death comes, so be it. Nobody has the monopoly of violence, and nobody will threaten anybody on this continent. That is the message we are passing across. We are not scared. If there's a conscription today, this is the fighting age. So we are not scared of anyone. And this is what the imperialists are trying to avoid. That is why they put old and tired men, mentally, physically, emotionally tired men like Tinubu. That is why they have them in position. Men that are scared, men that cannot hold the bull by its horn. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a different generation in Africa, and the message is loud and clear. We would not walk with anybody on our knees. Walk with anybody that chooses to respect us on our feet. We will not be judged by our color, but by the content of our character. Honorable men starts with one, and many will join the fight. So thank you, and God bless you.